why I did that. Yeah. There's no point to it. I just felt like it. Hi, welcome to Comic Talk. I'm Joshua.
And I'm Drew.
And this is our belated weekly pull list review for September 7th, I think.
Yeah, because, yeah, that's right.
Right? September 7th. That's right. Alright, so we were off the week of this stuff. This stuff that we're going to talk about, and it's pretty good stuff. So
talk about it now.
It seems worth doing, so we're going to go back and talk about these. Don't we normally like to say what they are, right? So we got the Flintstones, Paper Girls, number 9, I think, Daredevil, number 11, Doctor Strange, probably 11, and Moon Knight, number 6. So we'll start off with Flintstones. With as much as we've been dogging on DC, let's talk about
something we like.
Something from DC that we like. At least I assume we like. I liked
it.
Okay, cool.
All right, review over.
Next.
This one they get visited by aliens, and the first time it works out, and the second time it doesn't, and then the third time it works out.
Yeah. So we have kind of the same thing going on with this, I feel like, as we get with Archie a lot, where the premise itself is like throwaway.
Sure.
Right? You can throw away the premise. It doesn't matter. Really, where the fun is how they play with all the stuff happening just underneath the premise. Like how all the characters interact, what it means to their society, right?
I would semi-agree. Again, I haven't read the second issue, but from what you've told me of it, and I've read the first issue, it had kind of a way of making social commentary even set back, like however many, thousands of years this is going to be, or supposed to be. This one I didn't really see a parallel as much. But, I don't know, what do you think? Is there like a modern day parallel?
Well, there was a lot of stuff with war and the veterans, right? So,
well, right, but like the actual plot line with like the aliens coming in. Fucking shit up.
Not really, no. I felt like this was partially just a play on the little alien guy that's on the old Flintstones. It's kind of a way to set that up and explain why he's around or what he was here for.
I could see that.
And he did a couple things with that. He did that, and he also did the Yabba Dabba Doo. Like, he explains where that comes from, which I thought was pretty funny. And makes... Like, if you were to go back and watch old Flintstones now with that in mind, it would be really kind of creepy and weird to think about that, because it's like it's a way for him to deal with, like, PTSD, basically,
Right.
Which is pretty funny and dark. And this was pretty dark in a lot of ways. Like,
a lot of the veteran stuff was pretty dark.
The whole thing with the suicide hotline was, like, really dark humor and it was really funny.
Right.
But it was extremely dark. Making a joke out of calling a suicide hotline is pretty intense.
And homelessness of veterans, was touched on.
But yeah, the bigger plot with the aliens coming in and doing spring break was...
Maybe I could see, maybe people in Colorado feeling that way about Californians.
Yeah.
But that's... I don't know, it's a bit of a stretch.
Yeah, definitely.
It's quite a bit of a stretch, actually. It's probably not even comparable. Overall, it's a pretty funny book. I'm enjoying reading it.
I think so.
Oddly, my favorite thing from DC right now. So
yeah, it is.
It is what it is.
From actual DC and not an imprint. I think Doom Patrol is my favorite thing that they've put out just as DC in general, but this and DC proper, I think, wins out pretty easy, really. This is much better than anything from Rebirth. And I mean, it's Russell. He did Prez, which we really loved. And
Which DC didn't fucking love. But
yeah,
we did.
And it's got a lot of the same heart and humor, but just, channeled in a different way. Okay, let's move on. Let's talk about Paper Girls number 9.
Number 9.
This is Brian K. Vaughan and Cliff Chang and Matt Wilson and Jared Fletcher.
It's so cool that it's on the back of the issue like that.
It's really convenient, yeah. It's very helpful for us.
So we really get a good picture of what actually the hell is going on here in this issue.
Yeah.
9 issues in.
Yeah, it explains a lot without feeling super explainy, though. Even though it's really all it is. This is a very...
It felt a little bit explained in parts.
This is very much like a Christopher Nolan movie in a comic book where everybody's just walking around explaining their actions and the plot of the movie.
Well, it's happening, yeah.
Yeah, the whole issue is just that. They're just walking around explaining what it is that you don't know so far, but somehow he manages to do it in a way that doesn't just feel like a Jeff Johns comic,
Most of this. I think there was like one page in here where I was like, okay, like just stop telling me shit for now.
Yeah, it was a little belabored.
Yeah, but as an issue overall, I mean, it's clearly heads and shoulders above anything Jeff Johns has done.
Yeah.
To make that comparison.
Yeah. Artistically, it's still as good as it's always been. Mm-hmm. It's got a really cool look to it, and it's still really easy to tell what's happening. And although I still don't think it's masterfully, framed. You know what I mean? Like I'm never blown away or really drawn deeply into what's going on from the artwork. Mm-hmm. It's just good.
Like service.
Yeah, it services really well, and it's got a really nice, cool vibe and style to it.
It doesn't really look like anything else.
Yeah.
Despite being like, I mean, I would say the pencil work is probably fairly typical, but just the way everything comes together, you wouldn't mistake it for anything else.
Yeah, just the style, like the stylistic choices he makes with how the characters are strangely cartoony, but not. Like it's a weird line that he's kind of blocky, but not cartoonish at the same time. But it's just never incredible, but it's really fun to look at the same time. It's interesting. I would love to see... I hope this goes for a while and Chang keeps doing it, because I feel like as he keeps working with the characters, he'll hopefully get better and better at like the paneling and the... You know what I mean? Because he's gotten so good with the characters themselves. I feel like if he gets another year or two on this, we'll get some really cool looking stuff.
Sure. And I'm sure this is going to go on for another year or two. So
it has to. Can you imagine this somehow wrapping up in like 3 issues?
No.
Yeah,
that would be absurd.
It would be totally absurd.
Yeah. So what do you think about the actual story now that we kind of see the pieces coming together?
Yeah, it reminds me of something. Do you get this feeling with it? Like I can't quite put my finger on exactly what it's like because it's drawing so heavily from so many different things.
Yeah.
I constantly feel like, oh, that's just like something.
Yeah. It's like that melody that you hear and you're like, I swear to God, that's like 6 songs. But I can't name a fucking one of them at the moment. So.
Yeah, exactly. Like beyond Goonies.
Yeah.
Or Stranger Things. Back to the Future a little bit. But like these multiple clone versions of the girl. And it's just so wacky and weird, but...
Fucking weird science.
Weird, yeah. Yeah, it's just this great amalgamation of so many good things, but can never... I guess that's probably a good sign that it's great, because it feels like it must be some other really good thing that already exists, but I don't, but it's not.
Yeah, it's a weird line to ride.
Mm-hmm.
It is.
Yeah.
But it's good.
Yeah, it's still hard to fucking keep track of what's going on, but it's a lot better than it was in that regards. Like, it is starting to all come together, I think. All right, let's go over to Marvel. We got 3 of our Marvel books, which is most of the Marvel stuff we're reading. We got 2 other ones, so we got all 3 of 5 this week. So we'll talk about Daredevil number 11. I'm assuming this is still Soul and Garni and Mia. Yeah.
Yeah. In the last issue, they had that the big blood painting, and this issue hinges kind of heavily around that. That's clearly like where the storyline's heading. Like, that's our big thing. There's a murderous artist about.
I think I said last issue that I was really looking forward to where we were going, and I feel like this is continuing to take me in that direction.
Absolutely. I
really like this so much more than the last arc, and I almost feel like the last arc was just there to get us to this point. Mm-hmm. I know that Soul, I believe, was a district attorney, like the writer. Like he worked for the district attorney's office or something. So he understands that world, and I'm so glad to see him spending more time there, because it just has so much more character and life, I feel like, when he's dealing with that world than when Soul's writing him as Daredevil.
Sure. And, I mean, I would totally believe it just based off all of the obscure little legal shit that comes up in this. I mean, it's things that, like, even if you were to do a good Google and you wouldn't come across, because it's just, I mean, things basically out there to tie up litigation and whatnot.
Right.
So it's very tasteful. And I think the storyline is definitely a lot darker than the last one already. Like, it's just starting, and, I mean, we're really getting into, like, a lot of human nature and, like, greed and what constitutes, you know, this thing, or yeah.
And I like that in this one, the story doesn't really revolve around the big villain, right? The big villain creates the thing that the story is then about, not about that villain himself. So it gives us more breathing room. It's really, I think it's decompression done well. Right? The villain causes a problem by creating this piece of art, and then the whole thing is about, like, the repercussions of this piece of artwork existing, which is just, to me, so much more interesting than just another, like, chasing down a villain and fighting some henchmen, right?
I was a bit disappointed that he was revealed at the end.
Yeah.
Like, I wish we would have got, like, 4 more issues when we had, like, no idea anything about him, you know, because now there's going to be, like, that pursuit aspect, and I just feel like it's a little bit soon, but again, for, like, a Marvel book, that's probably smart pacing.
Right. I agree. The pacing could have been, like, we could have gotten a whole another couple of issues of just seeing his artwork and learning about him like that, like a very Seven.
That's what I was thinking. Thing, right? Exactly.
Which is what I thought we were getting into, where he was just going to keep making art and he was going to have to go look at it, and it was going to be something else about the world, right? The first one created, like, this situation with greed, and maybe the next one would cause some other situation, right? So maybe some sort of thing about taste, or, you know. But we didn't get that, apparently. And I also like the idea of an artist, because Daredevil is blind. You know, so it's an interesting person to put him up against as well. Also, I liked his costume.
The villain's costume?
The villain's costume.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
It was very, like, artsy, hipstery kind of villain outfit, you know?
It's pretty cool. I'll give him that.
With, like, his eyes bleeding into a heart, you know? It was pretty neat.
A bleeding heart.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And the art here is just pretty cool. I feel like he's starting to really get the idea what he's going for. This mix between Marcos Martin, whatever his name was, the guy that, you know, started off with the Daredevil run with Wade. Right. It's like this great mix between what he was doing and the old school Frank Miller vibe. I like where he's going with it. It's somewhere right in the middle. It's pretty cool.
And a lot of the legal stuff is straight like a Dilbert color palette. Yeah. Like, it really just reinforces that whole, like, clean, office-y kind of vibe that they're going for. Definitely
making its way up the charts for me.
Yes.
Okay, so now let's talk about Doctor Strange number 11. This is Aaron, Nolan, Romero, and Belair.
So this one, again, was a bit dark.
Yeah.
You know, this is in the post-empirical thing. The magic's just starting to come back. You know, old spells don't work anymore. He's having to write new ones. He's kind of at his wit's end in a lot of different places. He's making very drastic decisions.
Yeah. So it's important to note that we don't have Chris Bacalo on art anymore.
Right.
Which was, for that first arc, one of the big draws for us was Bacalo's art. Interestingly enough, with this issue, although I immediately noticed, like, this clearly isn't Bacalo's art anymore, it was still good art. And I feel like this story is more promising, and where it's going now is a lot more interesting than the last story. So, to me,
it's a trade-off.
It's a good trade.
Well, I mean, depending on who you are, you know, if you're somebody that reads for the artwork, you know, you're going to be absolutely crushed when you open this. I mean, it's still good, but it's not, like, mind-blowing like the last series was.
I liked a lot about it. I really liked, from both the writing and the artistic perspective, the then stuff, like the old Stephen Strange before he became Sorcerer Supreme, and he had the broken hands, and he was, like, shooting up, like, X-Men mutagen and shit.
Yeah.
I felt like that looked really good and was kind of grimy and really put you in that mind frame that he was in at the time, and it was a cool juxtaposition both artistically and writing wise. I thought it was a really cool way to go.
Definitely, and it was a great way to sort of portray him in that light, because the thing that I think we both liked about this is just how human they're writing him this time around. You know, like he's not just so on top of everything and just, you know, the coolest, smartest guy like all the fucking time, like he usually is. Like, you know, this is a guy with real problems and shit, and now we get to see him like basically at the bottom,
right?
Which is something that I hope they'd continue to explore, and he basically took this issue to do it.
Yeah. I hope going forward we get to see the dichotomy of how he presents himself to people, because that's the part that we're now missing. Here is like the public image of Stephen Strange versus, you know, who he really is, all beat up and having a hard time. So I hope we get that dynamic. I'd really like to see some other people come in and watch him put on airs and be the Sorcerer Supreme.
Right.
You know, that would really take this over the top and make it just a great story from like a Marvel fan perspective, I think. You know, tie it all up a little bit. Because right now, he's very weak and beat up and pretty vulnerable from, you know, our perspective of reading, which is a huge departure from normal.
Oh, definitely.
You know, Doctor Strange, like you said, he's usually the guy that's on top of everything. Like when you can't fucking handle it,
you call him in and like...
You finally call in Doctor Strange, like nobody else knows what the fuck to do.
Then he just handles it.
Let's get Doctor Strange. Yeah, he's zubazaba, you know.
It's like, all right, peasants, I'm out of here. I got better shit to do.
I gotta go, you know, defeat some interdimensional magical threat. Yeah.
And on that note, I really love the baseball bat part of this. That was fantastic. He's just like, fuck it. God damn it.
Taking a bat with some
magical barbed wire around it.
Yeah.
Go beat this thing's ass.
Yeah, it's pretty great. All in all, this is like Daredevil. I feel like that whole first arc was just there
warm-up
to serve the purpose of getting us to this kind of thing. You can tell, at least it seems to me, like I feel like I can tell that this is what Aaron really wanted to do with the character. But to do that, you have to earn it, right? You have to tear away everything that he was before. And to tear all that away, you can't just do it quickly because it's fucking Doctor Strange. Like, this is the guy in the universe for magic.
Beloved.
You know, he is the fucking man when it comes to this stuff. So to tear that away and make him more relatable in this way, you have to really do some groundwork. And
sure.
I feel like it was worth it. This is an awesome jumping on point.
Yeah.
For anybody that has been kind of on the fence and wants to see a good sort of beat up Doctor Strange, you know, bashing at shit with a baseball bat, you know, and just getting his fucking shit beat up. This is the one. This is pretty good. Last but definitely not least, we have Moon Knight number 6 by Lemire, Stocco, Francavilla, Torres, and Garland.
Yeah. So, quick note about this. I investigated. Smallwood's going to be back. He just had some stuff going on and he needed to take a break. And so he'll be back on, like, a few issues from now. That when I opened this book, I was extremely pissed off to see the style of layouts that I did. Yeah. Because, I mean, that's just been such a huge part of this book. You know, like, it's unmistakable. It's something that you come to expect, and then to just not have it is frustrating.
Painful.
Obviously, yeah. But they did do this really clever thing where they're using, like, a different artist for each one of his multiple personalities. So it kind of fits into continuity at this point, you know, to just have it that way and just have him on it for the time. It's
also, I think Lemire stepped it up in really going full-on batshit crazy with this one.
This is the best written issue of this so far.
Definitely. I love this super meta thing of them coming all the way out of like the Marvel universe to the point where Marvel exists in the comic, making the Moon Knight movie with Mark Spector being
the producer.
Well, no, he's the actor.
Oh, right, yeah.
That is Moon Knight in the movie, but then he's actually, Moon Knight is also the producer and he's also the cab driver. So it's this just extra bizarre meta commentary level he talks about all this stuff about it. Moon Knight's a C-level character, and we're trying to make a psychological drama, and it's turning into another shitty action superhero movie.
Yeah,
It's
we
very
have a benefit at the mental hospital because it's supposed to be very pro mental. Well, not pro mental illness, but
Yeah. I don't think you want to be pro mental illness. Yeah.
Well, somebody is fucking disturbed us down with the sickness.
That's right. But yeah, just this whole self-critical thing that they're doing that Marvel allowed Lemire to do here is pretty cool.
That is pretty cool.
Because it is pretty critical of what's happening at Marvel, right? And they talk about the Ant-Man movie and how that did well overseas, and this will do the same thing.
Right.
So it was cool for Marvel to let him do this, and it was just interesting to read this super weird perspective with what he's doing here, right? Khonshu kind of moving through all these different versions of him, and it seems to me like the idea here is Khonshu and his self are kind of intertwined.
Yeah, kind of.
So Khonshu moves from one to the next, but it kind of drags him along. You know what I mean? See, they're clearly different people because he's riding in the cab with himself.
Right.
So he can't be driving the cab with his date in the back because she would be like, why are you driving the cab, you fucking crazy person, right?
Right, yeah. Yeah, that was probably my favorite part about the writing was just the sort of pull through all these different personalities and perspectives that you get, and because he's so crazy, we get to learn things that would be really obvious in a normal story in very shocking ways, because it's from him. When they're having the thing at the hospital and she accidentally calls him Mark. And then, mentions that he used to be a patient there, which he's what the fuck? He had no idea, you know, and the orderly dudes, that we saw a few issues ago, or, catering the fucking thing.
Right.
And, yeah, it continues this whole, what the hell is actually happening?
Is any of this real?
Yeah.
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 Yeah, it's really... But it doesn't feel... this would be so easy to do really badly. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Even from this angle, if somebody was if it was too batshit crazy, it would just not work. You know? If it was any more grounded, it wouldn't be as good.
Right. It's just the perfect level of ridiculous. It's sort of I suppose if you were to take it any further, it would just snap.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You'd just be this is just bullshit. It's not, there's nothing crafted here. You know?
It's just a bunch of random bullshit that was thrown together.
Yeah.
Because he's crazy, so yeah.
Whoop-de-doo, you know?
Right,
yeah, crazy Moon Knight. But somehow he just takes it right to the edge to where you can, at least I feel like I can stay on board the crazy town without, getting off the train.
It's maybe Grant Morrison-esque in that aspect, I guess. Which sometimes that dude rides that line pretty hard.
So I think sometimes he straight jumps the fucking shark.
Right.
Which is part of his charm. I think part of the Morrison charm is that he's not afraid to just completely jump the shark and
this
go
is
retarded.
This is more reined back than that.
Right. But yeah, it's definitely Lemire's closest. I think this is the closest I've ever seen Lemire go to that sort of thing. And it's even very self-referential the way a lot of Morrison work is.
Definitely.
Yeah.
All right. Well, those are the 5. They were all enjoyable.
Yeah.
It was a good week that we missed.
Yeah. So you can check back with us here in a few days. Later this week, we will do this week's stuff.
This actual week stuff.
The actual week.
The 21st.
The 21st, I think. Yeah. So you can check back, later this week for that. Next week, what are we doing? Do we know?
No.
No?
No.
No. It'll be a surprise.
Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr.